All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the Mamas at Work podcast with your host, me, Heather Rose. I have today Tina Ziegler. Is that how you say it? Perfect.
Perfect.
Awesome. And she is a coach and she is doing all kinds of amazing stuff for women. And I know we're just going to have an awesome conversation. We were just talking, we're not exactly sure how we got connected, but I'm so glad we did. So, hi, Tina. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Heather. Thank you so much for having me. And, however way we connected, I'm so happy to be here today. I am a coach. I'm a tantric sex, love, and relationship coach. And I work with women who want to get the spark back into their lives and particularly into their romantic relationships. And I also am a mom of a 9 months old and 2 days, 9 months and 2 days old baby. It's like super cute. And I also have four bonus kids. So the house is full and lively and it's absolutely wonderful. I love the big families.
Oh my gosh. Yes, that's right. You told me that four bonus kids. So, what does that mean?
Oh, so yeah, that means that my partner already has four kids.
Oh, I wasn't sure if they were like foster or something. I was like, what does
No,
a
yeah,
bonus
it's my
mean?
it's my partner's kids. Yeah.
Oh, that's really exciting. Oh, you so five kids and you have a 9 month old.
Yes.
It
It's wonderful.
is wonderful. Oh man. My kids are 7 and 8 years old, so 9 months, was a long time ago, but that's such a special time.
Oh, it is. Oh, he's so cute. He melts my heart every day. And so the two youngest of my bonus kids are 7 and 9, and it's such a
Oh,
beautiful age as well, though. And they love their little brother. They're like all the time, like squeezing him and playing with him and showing him things. It's beautiful.
oh, that's so special. Oh, what a great time. Awesome. Okay, well, I wanted to talk a little bit about your work. And you did mention in the questions that I'd asked you before that you want to talk about how women can get in touch with their femininity because as like high-powered entrepreneur women, we tend to like try to move ourselves to the masculine side. And
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you. I think the feminine side is just as powerful. So, talk to me a little bit about that and how you got into that.
Yeah, so let me start with how I got into that because I'm actually also in my other life, I'm an electrical engineer and I still have a part-time job and I work for the German government in Brazil and I advise the Brazilian government on renewable energies. So I'm like absolutely like it's perfect to be completely in my masculine. I'm like a project director, I'm leading teams. And for me, for the longest time, I was like, okay, in order to be successful in my job and in my business, I have to, I have to be like super, like, masculine. What do I mean with masculine? It's like, okay, I have my set goals and I really go for them no matter what, like super. It's kind of like to take the life on as like something that you have to fight. Like it has to be
Mm,
hard. And it has to be. Do you know what I mean? Like you have
yes.
to get up really early, even though you might not want to, right? Like you have to do things, and it's like it's part of it is that it's going to be painful. Okay,
Right.
so that's much of masculine. Now, when you're in your feminine, doesn't mean that you're suddenly everything is bliss and amazing. That's not the point, right? But it's kind of like this just in a way like kind of like competing with men or like becoming this like going for it action energy so
Yeah.
you get where you want to go or where you want to be in your business or in your high achieving job. And I mean, where does that come from? It's not just because I make this up or you make this up. It's because we live in a society where the feminine is not really valued in a
Mm,
professional space, right? The
right.
feminine energy is not necessarily something where people go like, wow, if you want to have an amazing job, like you should really like tap into your feminine intuition. I mean, you hear this more and more, but let's be honest, when we grew up, that was not valid.
Yep.
Like it was just not valid. So we have this idea that in order to be successful, we have to be very masculine. Now, being in the masculine energy, there's also nothing wrong about it in the first place, but we have to cultivate both. right?
Right.
So what happens typically with like these, power women like you and me who have businesses or like high achieving jobs, when you're in your romantic relationship, when you're in with your partner, you like come home from work or, you leave your home office or wherever you are, and you're like in this like maker and doer energy that's very kind of like focused and controlling and,
Yeah.
and you meet your partner. Most of my clients, have men, like male partners. It's kind of like, when you have like two magnets with the same poles and they just don't get together, like you don't have a polarity anymore. And it becomes like kind of like a competition, but typically also what happens is that men get in, like feel your energy and they're like, wait, you do everything, you control everything, you really know how to go for everything, you know how to fix everything. Where's my place here?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Typically, it's not that articulate. Like they can't just say and go like, wait, you're so masculine, where's my place? That's not what's happening typically. Like typically they're like kind of like retreating and they feel weak and they feel emasculated by this very masculine energy of their women, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
So it happens very much on kind of like a subconscious level. And then often, like when the woman, for example, needs support, but she's typically very in her masculine and kind of like do energy, and she asks for support, very often the men then are kind of like, yeah, not very motivated, not really treating her like a queen or a goddess or however you want to call it, because she's not in this kind of energy, right? So for me, what happened was like after being in my job for 6-7 years, I decided that I want to take a step back. I heard kind of like a soul calling that it's time to look if there is something else out for me.
Yeah.
And I took a year off. And I really put this intention out, like what else could there be? Because the job I did, and I'm still doing until now, but only part-time, was my dream job for many years. It was. But something shifted, something changed. And I just put this intention out and going like, okay, maybe there is something else. Maybe I can just leave this job and work for them as a consultant or whatever it is. And I did many courses in this. I took a sabbatical, right? I took a year off. And I did loads of courses. And one was the School of Womenly Arts. And I was like, oh my God,
Ooh.
like, why would I join a place that's called like this? Like to me back then, like to Tina back then, that was like in 2016. I was like, oh my God, that's wrong. Like that, like School of Womenly Arts, like what the heck? It sounds like I'm gonna learn cooking and cleaning there. Do you know what I mean? Like just wrong. And
Talking
like
about our feelings.
right, about our feelings. And then the website was all like pink feathers. And I'm like, okay, today I'm a little bit more colorful, but I'm like,
Yeah.
let's put it this way. Pink is not my favorite color, right?
Same.
But
I mean, I do have pink headphones, but that's about it.
And like they're really cool. They're kind of like metallic pink, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm more open to pink now. There's I think a little bit of pink in my shirt, but yeah. So, but it was really interesting because I put this intention out and I felt something was calling me to join this place, right? To join this course. And I was like, okay, I really don't know where this is going, but okay, let's do it. Let's go there. And it was all about like embracing my feminine. And it was so scary, Heather, because to me, stepping into my feminine was equal to becoming like this wifey, like this person who doesn't really have her own opinion. To me, it felt like I have to give up power. I have to give up control. And especially like in my relationship, but also in my job, I just won't be as able to achieve my goals, right?
Right.
Before I joined the school, I had this huge prejudice. And often when I talk to my clients about it and when we go a little bit deeper, because typically when they come to me and they go like, yeah, I want to step more into my feminine, and we go into, okay, why haven't you yet?
Right.
Right? Yeah. A bit deeper. And then that comes up. It's like this fear of just becoming weak, losing power. But what I've learned doing this course and also like with my clients now is actually the opposite. So it's not about letting go of the masculine, it's like bringing the feminine in, right?
Mm.
And the feminine, what does that mean? It means, like you said, emotions. Not necessarily talking about them, but just like celebrating them, right? We have such an amazing range of emotions, and we can shift in between them in such a short amount of time, which very often is seen as something negative, but actually it's extremely powerful. Like the fluidity that we have as women to handle our emotions, to fully feel them, is absolutely divine. Okay,
Huh.
it's part of the human experience, right? So what I've learned and what I'm now teaching my clients, the women I'm working with, I like to call them power because they're like absolutely amazing. So is to celebrate every emotion that we have. So we have this concept in the Western world, mainly in the Western world, that there are positive and negative emotions. Okay, so negative emotions is like rage and grief and shame. Oh, not shame, you don't want to feel shame, right? And disgust. And then there are the positive emotions that you always want to feel. It's like happiness and joy and excitement. And what we kind of like when like the Eastern traditions came here, meditation and mindfulness, very often they get sold as when you do these practices, you will always be in a happy place. You will not feel these emotions like grief or anger or shame anymore, right? Like you live in your happy place. Now, that's not going to happen. That's like, as a matter of fact, it's never going to happen.
No.
We are blessed with this range of emotions. Like it's part of our human experience. It's a good thing, right? And with these so-called negative emotions, we need them to have these so-called positive emotions. Now, what I've learned and what I'm teaching is to just to embrace these negative emotions. They have so much power and energy. And when you manage to really love yourself in your rage, for example, or in your shame, or in your grief, or whatever it is that you're feeling right now, you unleash an amazing power of creativity. And that's another part of the feminine. It's a very high level of creativity. So when you shut down part of your emotions, your level of creativity can't be as full as it possibly is.
Wow.
Because it's like, imagine you have like a palette of different, how do you say, like Sharpies, okay? Imagine you have like 80 Sharpies, but you just discard 44 of them because you think they're like not so cool.
They're bad.
The art you produce will never be as full as it could be. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So this is the work that I'm doing, and it's like an ongoing exercise and an ongoing practice. And to me, what I can see with my clients and what for me was also the access to my feminine energy, because many women ask me, okay, so how am I going to do that? Like how? Okay, feminine. Okay, it's a concept. Okay, I understand. It's about creativity and emotions. But how can I connect to my feminine? And it's all about embodiment. Like it's getting out of your head and feeling your body. And this is really something that we've never really have been taught. We've never really have been taught. Like many times, and I see it until today. I remember when I was a kid, many of my clients kind of like remember these situations when they work with me. You know, when you have like a girl and she's like some 3, 4, 5 years old, and she's just being herself and like dancing around and singing, and like if you let them, like they put on the most amazing clothes, and a lid is like very often a lid is being put on that. Right? It's like, okay, yeah, okay, you're cute and all, but just not right now. Like just cut it out, don't do it. It's not even necessarily the parents, but it's just like the message from all around. It's like you're being too much, or you're not being good enough. You have to be like this sweet little girl, pleasing, and being yourself right now is not what pleases the people. So you get a lot into your head. And in this moment, when that happens, you're adapting and you just kind of like as if you would shut this part out. Now, it's important. This is not about blaming your parents. Like I'm like a new mom now, and I kind of like, co-parenting with like, these bonus kids, and
Yeah.
you can never ever, you can't, like, it's impossible to be perfect as a parent. It's not about that. So
Yeah.
every one of us has these situations where we've been shut down, even though you had the most amazing parents. It just happens. Like it's the society we also live in, right? So it's not about parent bashing or anything, but it's about now when you're grown up and you can take care of yourself and you can create a safety around you. Now is an amazing moment to let go of this kind of like controlling mind that feels so safe, and drop into your body.
Ooh, interesting. No, I love that. So you're kind of trying to bring them back to that little girl.
Yeah, because connecting to your feminine energy is actually reconnecting. Like when we are born, we are perfect. Okay, there are lots of things we have to learn. Fair enough. Like loads of things. But like in our energy, we are perfect. We're kind of like untouched territory. We are amazing in setting boundaries, crying, having anger tantrums. Ben started having anger tantrums. So
Oh,
cute. Do you know what I mean? But it's like, it's perfect. Like he does not judge his emotions at all. He just expresses them in the moment, right? So when we're born, we're perfect, and we're fully embracing whatever energy it is, the masculine, the feminine. There is no good or bad. There's this being in the moment, feeling your body and expressing your emotions. So it's really about getting back to this. Of course, in a very different phase of your life, like you have all this knowledge and all this experience from your life so far. And then reconnecting to this is extremely powerful. And so what for me is also an absolute game changer in embodiment is tapping into your pleasure, right? So how do you get into your body? By feeling pleasure. So for example, one thing that I do when I have a very busy day, when I know it's like so easy to forget pleasure. So back then, like years before I signed up for the School of Womanly Arts, pleasure was the thing that I would allow myself last. Like only when I had ticked off all the boxes of my to-do list that was supposed to be for a day, but it probably would have taken me 2 months to tick off all the items on it.
yep.
And I would allow myself to feel pleasure, to take a break, right? It had to be hard. So what I would do, and also now when I have very busy days, is to just set a reminder. Several times a day, set a reminder. Whatever I do in that moment when the reminder goes off, I would do anything that brings more pleasure in that moment. And it doesn't have to be a big thing, right? It could be just, okay, I'm, putting on a song I really enjoy in that moment and I'll dance, right? Or sometimes it's just stretching. Sometimes when I was, like for example, sometimes when I'm in meetings, nowadays meetings are not presential anymore, at least in my world. We're still in home office.
Yeah.
So I would just like do a very slow hip circle on the seat, like while I had a meeting. People don't realize it, and you're like, oh, yeah. And like automatically, the energy changes, and I'm like kind of like dropping back into my body.
Interesting. So do you think it has a lot to do with just being able to feel everything in our body. Because you keep saying that dropping back into your body, is it a lot about, um, I mean, obviously it's being present, but just like just feeling where you're at, just feeling, like the floor under your feet or that kind of thing. You keep talking about dropping back into your body. What exactly do you mean by that?
Yeah, to feel the sensations in your body in the first place without judgment again. So it can happen, and especially when I work with women who have like chronic pain,
Mm,
that when they drop into their bodies, when they feel their bodies, it's not necessarily a pleasant experience, right? So just to feel the sensation that is happening in your body, and then asking yourself, but like the physical sensation. So, for example, right now I'm feeling a tingling in my left arm, okay? And now I feel a little bit of cold on my right elbow, like kind of like it's called the felt sense, like connecting to what sensations, physical sensations you're feeling in your body, and that's something like temperature or different changes of pressure or vibrations, and just being present with where you feel it, but completely without any judgment. Sometimes it happens that you focus on it and it's hard and you don't feel anything. But that not feeling anything is still also like a, kind of like a message from your body. Okay, right now I feel numb.
mm,
And feeling numb is also, it's also a feeling. What is important to be judgment free about it. And then ask yourself, what could I do right now? Either shift my focus or move my body or sound, like
mm.
make noises that create sensations that are more pleasurable, right?
Right.
So that's what I mean when I say about dropping into your body. And the thoughts keep on coming, of course, they never stop. Like in Eastern traditions, they like to call it the monkey mind, because like
Yeah.
all over the place, right? It's always going to be there. But the practice in a way is to just let it be there. It's okay. To be just as non-judgmental towards your thoughts like you are towards your emotions.
Interesting. Okay. And you had said something earlier about loving yourself in all those emotions, like loving yourself in your rage, loving yourself in your shame. That is hard.
Oh yeah, it is. So usually, yeah, it's true.
It is.
So usually like when I work with my clients on this, what we usually do, it's a longer process, right? Longer process as in usually 2 sessions. Okay.
Mm,
The sessions are like an hour, 15 minutes. And we get really into, well, the first step is always what is it that you truly want? Okay, so you have the goal, the desire is clear, and then we look immediately at what is holding you back, because typically it's not something that a desire that they just had for the last day. Typically it's something that they're already desiring in their relationships in their lives for quite some while. Okay,
hmm.
and then we look, okay, why didn't you manifest it yet? And what comes up there typically are like strong emotions like fear or anger or a lack of trust. Okay. And our approach, like what we've been taught, is when there is something that's in your way, you have to get rid of it. Again, that's very masculine. You have to fix yourself because there is something broken, because if you would be perfect, then you wouldn't have that feeling.
Mm,
Thing is, that's not how it works. What happens is when you try to get something, to fix something, to get rid of an emotion or a certain feeling that you have, it doesn't just go away. It starts controlling you from the subconscious. Example is when you have a fight with your partner. And so having a dream relationship doesn't mean that you're not fighting. It means that when you have an argument, it actually helps you to get to know each other better.
yeah.
And you come from like an adult place. Typically, when I start working, with with the women who my clients, when they fight, they feel like as if they would lose control. And they feel like as if they were like toddlers, and they say things like when they already in the moment that they say, they're like, oh my God, you shouldn't say that. Where did that come from? Like, how can it be so painful and hurtful, right?
Yeah.
So what happens there is that you as an adult self lose control because there is an emotion, there is a protection mechanism, feeling that just, kind of like starts acting from your subconscious.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what are you going to do about it? You can't get rid of it because it's there. So what I do is to become kind of like a researcher, to really investigate what is this part, and to feel into it. So every emotion that we have, every feeling that we have is connected with physical sensation, right? So I would
Huh.
ask the person, the woman I'm working with, okay, if you're just about to manifest your dream and you have to take a decision, or you have to do something or say something or whatever, what do you feel like? What is there that doesn't feel aligned with your goal? And then usually, it's some kind of, oh, I'm scared, or, I'm angry, or, I feel hurt. And then I ask them to feel where they feel that inside their bodies. Like, how does this express as a physical sensation? And then we just stay with this and kind of like look at it and ask it questions. So even though it's uncomfortable, like very often it's kind of like in the chest and in the throat or the abdominal area. And I gently guide them to just stay with it. So typically when that comes up, we just want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So staying with it and looking at it and allowing it is kind of counterintuitive at first, right? So I ask them to stay with it and ask this part, like, what is your purpose? How does that serve you? Because these parts of us, they are very powerful. And as a matter of fact, we've created these protective parts because we needed them at one point in our lives. But then over the years, they kind of like took their responsibility too serious, and they started like messing up things. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yep.
imagine you have like this person and you like gave them, you delegated something to them like 10 years ago, and you never talked to them again, and they kind of like, overdid it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is literally what's happening. But by reconnecting and communicating with this part and asking the part, okay, what do you need right now? Very often what comes up is, I just need to be heard. I need to be seen and felt. And already in the like first or like latest in the second session, the sensation kind of like gets softer, right? And starts cooperating again. And typically these protection mechanisms, they are useful. It's not even about getting rid of them, but it's about updating their responsibilities. Do you know what I mean? So for example, when it's the sensation of, I'm afraid of being hurt, that comes very often. Like I have fear of being hurt. I have fear, like when I really go there at this level of intimacy I want with my partner, and I'm going to be so hurt. So that can seriously interfere in happiness and the resilience of your relationship. But when you reevaluate that part, it is very important, because you need this protection mechanism, just not as overdone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you kind of like start communicating with this part and say, hey, look, I am so grateful for you. Like, you've helped me so much. But in these and these and these moments, I'm going to take over because we are safe. Right? Now, usually the safe space is another part that I discover with my clients, which is kind of like the divine goddess part inside of them, which is the feminine, right?
Yeah.
It's very strong. So my philosophy as a coach is that I don't tell my clients what to do. I support them to reconnect to their inner wisdom, because we actually know exactly what to do. The problem is that we typically lost trust into our own intuition and lost this communication channel to our inner divine, right?
Wow.
So bringing these parts together and kind of like, so in between the sessions, there's always homework, or pleasure exercises, depends,
Yeah.
because some people are like, I don't want homework, it's okay, it's called pleasure exercise, you can call it whatever you like. So it's really about cultivating this connection to what always felt like we have to fix, and connection to our divine intuition, right?
Right.
And to have this dialogue and to tap into that. That's what I mean when I say, the negative emotion or what holds us back is actually what we have to start loving and embracing. So what happens after a session like this, and you really tapped into this physical sensation that you feel when the resistance comes up, you will recognize it again, because we stay with it for quite a while, how it feels like. So the next time, when you interact with your partner and you feel that sensation, you're like, oh, wow, yeah, yes, I can feel it. And you start getting it out of your subconscious and you start taking over control, right? And you're like, okay, that's that part. Sometimes it's an inner child piece, for example. And then you just ask this part, okay, what do you need right now to feel safe, or to feel loved, to feel seen? So that's the magic. You kind of like, by looking at it and stop trying to fix yourself, you actually make this resistance part an ally to manifest epic love, or literally whatever you want in your life or business as well.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I have never heard it explained that way. Because that is such a hard thing to get over when we get those kind of like mental blocks, right? Those that stop us from getting to where we want to go. Instead of trying to just like snap yourself out of it, you embrace it and recognize what it's trying to do, because it is you trying to protect yourself, right?
Yeah.
Huh.
And it's like, it's actually quite, it's actually quite simple. Sometimes there is more resistance, and typically it's not just one thing. Like, working with my clients, we go deeper and deeper. It's kind of like onion peels, and there's always a moment of being ready to look at something, right?
Yeah.
And to be able to embrace something. Sometimes already in the first, few minutes, my clients are able to actually appreciate that part. Other times not. Other times it really takes a while. In some cases, when we do this kind of like investigation on the resistance, on what is holding them back, an amazing step and breakthrough is already to just accept that it's there.
Mm.
And then take the step, okay, I can accept it, yeah. And then in the next session, okay, I can appreciate it, until you reach this level of compassion. And I had actually this week, I had an amazing session. And this woman, she really desires to like be aligned with her authentic self and to stop people pleasing, which is very, who doesn't want it, right? And so she had a quite visual experience in this whole process. And what she saw was that there was like this huge rock that was blocking like the path to the light. And the light that she saw was kind of like her own radiance. So in this session, she had this image and she managed to remove this rock. And then we were looking at, what is this rock about? Like, how can this rock that was blocking, right, like resistance, her path, can actually help her in kind of like manifesting this radiance in her life? So it's not about having moments of radiance. It's really about having this like your main experience, feeling radiant in whatever situation, as long as you want to being in control over this radiance and this connection to your authentic self. And it turned out that it's kind of like it just needs to be turned into a diamond. Right. So that was so beautiful. I love this kind of like images that she had, because this is truly what I'm trying to, communicate.
Yeah.
That's like the rock on your path. When you take it and you take your time, it just turns into this, precious stone that helps you shine.
That's so special that
Yeah.
she had that visual experience. Oh my gosh. You really love working with your clients, don't you?
Oh, I do. Honestly, every session, I feel like I get as much out of it. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. Okay. So you talked a little bit about how you got into, you were in the masculine arena, but how did you get to here? I mean, how did you take that I mean, you did the what'd you call it?
So I
The
did
study on women?
I did this global arts.
Yeah.
Yes. It's easy. I did this global arts, and it was like I took two courses with the amazing Regina Thomas. She's wow. Unfortunately, she doesn't do in-person events anymore. I was lucky to, get the last kind of like years of her teaching in person. So I took like the basic class and the advanced class with her, and it was really about stepping into my pleasure, into my feminine, allowing emotions and just appreciating the whole range. And then I decided, which again, I let my female intuition lead me to sign up for a 1.5 year long coaching certification process, which then I became a certified tantric sexual and relationship coach. And to be honest with you, the day that I got this message that this is my path, and it sounds super woo when I say this, which I'm not. I'm an electrical engineer, and I'm German, like I'm super not woo. But I just put this intention out there. Okay, I was in Greece, like with a bunch of friends that I had met in the School of Womenly Arts, and we met in Greece and had this amazing beach house. And I was just every day I was like, okay, just I want to have a sign of what is next. And I was always like about I'm just going to be an engineering renewable energy consultant. That was kind of like my headspace. And then I saw this, this opening for this coaching experience, or for this coaching certification. I was like, no, that's completely wrong. I mean, I'm an engineer. Like, who am I to coach on sex, love, and relationship? I mean, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. Right. And this is where the perfectionism kicked in. Right. I'm like, I need to have the degrees to be able to actually do that properly.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, but I had these shivers in me. So the thing is, when you start kind of like allowing yourself to connect to your body and like feeling pleasure, you get so many messages. Like there was so much wisdom. So I had tingles in my body, like as if I would have had the most amazing lovemaking session for 2 seconds. Like I had like waves of energy shooting up and down my body. I was like, okay, so my head totally says no, you're crazy. But I think my body tries to send me another message, so I sign up for it. And it was amazing. And I actually realized that, because I was always like, how can I coach somebody? Like, I'm not an engineer. But so I'm advising the Brazilian government, right? Which is, of course, all men, and they're like in their 60s. I'm like, oh, you're so cute, you remind me of my daughter. But it's like, it's going, they're accepting me by now after like 12 years of working together. So, but it was interesting because I realized how many parallels there are actually. I've already been actually coaching, just in a different area, for nearly a decade. So there are actually quite a lot of parallels. right?
Wow.
Which helped me in the sessions and working with my clients to have this confidence. Because of course, when you hold a space like this, no, sorry, let me start again. It's not possible to hold a space like this where women really feel safe when you don't feel fully confident in doing it, right? So I realized, doing the first practice coaching sessions, first with the peers, and then, with kind of like a client pool that we had. And it's actually, well, first of all, it's my zone of genius. Like I really have a gift for that, which I didn't know before. Well, my body did, right, when I was about to sign up. And yeah, that I actually already have a lot of experience from my engineering job.
Wow. That's really cool. And that you never really saw yourself doing something like this, obviously. And
No.
this is you.
Yeah. Amazing.
Okay. Can I ask, how do you feel this affects you now that you're a mother?
You mean the business or
Well,
me?
everything that you've learned. Yeah.
So I mean, it's the first time experience of being a mother, of course. So I don't have a comparison, right? I don't know how I would have been. I don't know 100% how I would have been as a mother
Right.
before starting this work. But to me, just holding space for Ben in all of his emotions, it's like, I mean, I'm doing this with my clients. Of course, it's a different level, and you know what I mean, like a different level of communication and all. But like when he has his tantrums, for example, or whatever emotion that's coming up for him, I can just hold this space. And I'm pretty sure like 10 years ago, I would have reacted very differently when he has an anger tantrum. And I would have been, oh, you're a naughty boy, right? Like, don't do that. That's not okay. And now I'm just like, hey, I can really feel you. I know how it feels like to be angry and you just want to like throw your toy into the other corner of the room. Like, I feel you. Of course, I'm still setting boundaries and everything, right?
Yeah.
But energetically spoken, I can just hold this and it doesn't affect me. Like, that's the practice of non-judgment. Like, I don't take it personally. I don't. So when I set boundaries for him, it comes from a place of love and compassion. When I see him struggling with emotion, like I can just, it doesn't mean that I always pick him up and he's like super spoiled. No, but I can just hold the space for him. And that is super powerful.
Well, and I think that's amazing because he's going to see that. He might not, realize it for a long time, but he is going to have a great grasp of what emotions are supposed to be at a very young age because you're
Yeah.
doing that for him.
And actually, oh, now I have it. I just remembered. So when I got together with my partner, his youngest, who is now 7, he was just about to turn 3.
Yeah.
And he was quite an angry child. I mean, quite an angry child. He just had anger and he didn't know how to deal with it. So when he felt angry, he would just like kind of like as if he would like shut down, right? Like his body would just collapse and sit there. And I could just see that he is really, really, really angry, but he doesn't know how to express it. So what I would do, and this is something that I also do with my clients, and I do myself, is to just express the anger. So you're kind of like, stomping and like hitting the floor, hitting the wall, of course, in a way that's not hurting yourself, or
Right.
like shouting and screaming. And I would do that together with him. I was like, hey, how do you feel? And he was like, I'm angry. And then I was like, okay, so let's do something about that. Let's, give that some expression. And I would tell him that it's okay to stomp your feet and to shout, as long as you and hit the wall, as long as you are careful enough to not hurt yourself or don't hurt your brother, or don't say bad or nasty things to your brother, but you can like shout it out. And we would just take the space together, and I would help him because he felt really embarrassed about it. And it was amazing because now, and then, you know, he would do it a bit, and we would do it a bit together, and then he would stop and I was like, okay, so do you still feel it? And he's like, okay, so let's do one more round. And like, yeah. And then it was just, it was gone. It was like, you know, taking the pressure out of the pressure cooker. Do you know what I mean?
Because you let it happen.
Exactly. Because the thing is, we don't get taught what to do with anger. What we get told about anger is like, you're not supposed to be angry. Like, you really shouldn't be. Like, your life is so amazing. Usually you're so ungrateful. Don't be angry. Right? That's at least, you know, the message that I received in most of my clients. So for him to have this tool was absolutely magic, because he then would even come up to me like, I'm so angry. I was like, okay, so let's go. Yeah. And we'd go like, you know, kind of like raging together. And then we had fun with it, right? And now he's like, it's so easy for him to access this emotion, and because he would feel bad when he felt anger, because it was like, you know, he was scolded for it, and actually, so I can see it like so amazingly with, you know, especially with him and also with the others, how that really changed how they are connecting now to their emotions, and they can describe it much better as well, how they feel, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. You you've given me a lot. This I appreciate this so much because yes, because I feel like you just coached me. Like, I just learned so much. Thank you. Oh man. Okay. That was beautiful. And there's a lot of things that I know I could take from this and put into my own life. So thank you. But I want you to, yeah, to let my audience know like where you are, where they can find you. I saw that you do have an event coming up, a 4-day event coming up. If you want to talk about that a little bit, and I'll put all the links in the show notes too.
Yes. So I do have an event coming up that's called wow, mom brain, right? Get your spark back.
Yeah.
Get your spark back. So it's a 4-day event, and I go live on Facebook for 4 days in a row. It's about 45 minutes a day, where I'm gonna lead, you know, the women who will join me through like quick but effective exercises,
Yeah.
on tapping into the desire, what to do with the resistance, how to improve communication with their partners, and really connecting to this divine feminine energy the last day.
Yeah.
And it's going to start on the 24th, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Monday the 24th. And yeah, it's possible to sign up. And after that, I'm going to open again the doors for my group coaching program, which is called the Queen's Incubator. And it's a small but very amazing group of women that I'm coaching to manifest epic love. Yeah.
Oh, that's so exciting. Oh my goodness. Well, Tina, thank you so much for coming on today. Thank you for just everything. You're just you're amazing and you're beautiful and I appreciate this so much.
Thank you so much. It was so much fun
Good.
to be with you, to chat with you. I love
Yeah.
that.
No, and I look forward to connecting with you more now that however we got connected. Now we can
It's better than when I did it.
This is amazing.
Wonderful.